Hi, my name's Tracy and I've been a foster carer for almost 18 years. This fostering fortnight I've been asked to think about fostering communities and how important they are. So I thought I'd share some of my feelings on that. For me, when I started fostering, I hadn't really considered just how lonely it might be to be looking after someone else's child, and how the impact of the trauma and loss and maybe some negative experiences that a child might have had might mean that I had to change my parenting style to a way that maybe my friends and family couldn't quite understand. When I realised this, it quickly became apparent to me how important it was to get to know other foster carers who would get it, who had the same experiences with me and who could really empathise with me when I was struggling. Since I started fostering for Hertfordshire, it's been an absolute pleasure, because Hertfordshire really get how important having that support is for carers. It's evident from day one when we now have the ambassador scheme, where you have an allocated person to support you through your assessment, hold your hand, and right up until you go to panel, be there to answer any questions that you have and offer whatever support you need. And after that, you're allocated a buddy who'll be an experienced carer who will see you through the first months of your fostering career. I guess for me though, the most important thing has been being part of Mockingbird Hub. Mockingbird really, for me, embed is the whole idea of a village raising a child. It's about a group of fostering families where the adults offer each other fantastic peer support, understanding, often laced with quite dark humour, which keeps us going. And the children get a group of safe adults that they know they can turn to, as well as their carers. And they also get to know other children who are in the care system, which kind of normalises their experience. I've been really privileged over the last 3 years to work with some amazing carers and build fantastic relationships that I know will last forever. And I know that those people will carry on supporting me through my fostering journey, just as I will to them. Obviously, the last 2 years have been a bit of a challenge to keep our communities going. Support groups went online. We weren't allowed to meet in person. There was a time when we couldn't do our usual sleepovers for children, so we had to be a little bit more inventive and think of new ways to keep in touch. So I want to share with you how, as a Mockingbird Hub carer, some of the ways that I managed to keep in touch with my carers and keep those really important relationships going. So I have a group of children that used to come and stay with me once a month. But obviously during COVID they couldn't, and it was really hard. I really missed them and they really missed me. So sending them a little treat, books and some chocolate through the post was a great way of showing them that I was thinking about them even when I couldn't spend time with them. For some of the older children, it can be more challenging to think of ways to let them know you're thinking of them. But one thing I found was sending the equivalent of a hug in a mug. So hot chocolate, marshmallows and whipped cream was a really good way of letting them know that I was missing them and thinking of them. And it wasn't only the children that needed a bit of support and needed to know that I was still there for them. So as well as the numerous phone calls and online support groups, I took the time to send Kit Kats through the post with a little note just reminding that it was important for them to take a break and look after themselves, especially when so many of them were homeschooling. At Christmas, normally we would have a big Christmas get-together and have a party. Obviously, COVID's put a stop to all of that. So instead, we got together a hamper full of goodies and games, and did doorstep visits to catch up with people and wish them a happy Christmas. And finally, when we started making our way out of lockdown, it was time to celebrate, and so bath bombs and sweets were the order of the day. As well as this, when we could and we were allowed to, doorstep visits and walks in the woods, socially distanced, den building became really important ways of still keeping in contact and letting the children know that they weren't forgotten. And although the world was a little bit strange, the people who cared for them still cared for them. I feel really privileged to have been part of Mockingbird, and I really feel passionate about the scheme, and I'm delighted to work for Hertfordshire, where it is seen to be such a valuable way of supporting carers and children to do their best to normalise the care experience and make sure carers get the support that they need, especially in the really difficult times.